Hey y'all, it's Poseidon. In this video, I wanted to go over some discourse that seems to be happening within the NRS community. The community seems to be split, with some people thinking that the devs of the NRS most recent title, Mortal Kombat 1, don't really care about the community, when the other half seems to believe that if there's any problems within the community, it needs to be fixed by the community. Now, I wanted to start this off by saying that the NRS community isn't the NRS. It isn't NetherRealm Studios. The NRS community are the people that play the games. It's the people that likely compete in the games, or at least make content for the games. It's the people that play Mortal Kombat 1, people that play Mortal Kombat 11, people that play MKX, people that play Injustice 2. You know, the people who play this game make up the community. The community isn't NRS. And I think a lot of people believe that the responsibility lies on the creators of the games, NRS, to develop some sort of competitive system that allows for the community to thrive. And we're kind of all sitting around, or people are kind of sitting around and waiting for something to happen. And then there's this other half of the community that's like, well, what makes stuff happen? You know what I mean? Like, it's on us. We're the community. So there's a few posts that I've seen that I feel like kind of go over some of the overarching points. So I'm going to talk over those, and then I'm going to go over what I think about it and what we could do, and that's pretty much going to be it. So I'm going to start here with Dragon. Dragon kind of made this post about a week ago saying, and I'm just going to read it. I wish online was better for in MK1. For tourneys, everything's done in COF. The match is on stream, but the mode results in random disconnects for players, high ping if a player doesn't host, rollback, and lag spikes for only one player, even though ping is consistent, all modes. It's very demotivating for players to play online because of this, let alone enter a tournament where half the times matches will be unstable. That's not fun for the players, viewers, or hosts of tournaments. I think as a player and community member, we still need to do our part to grow the scene, support the events we have, create hype around them, but it's definitely hard with the lack of foundation causing less motivation to play. Watch how online is currently. I remember back in the MKX and even Injustice 2 days, everyone would enter the same online tournaments. There would be exhibitions happening, offline locals, collabs, ECT, where the community would tune in to watch. I feel as if we've lost that, everyone just does their own thing. There's tourneys I've missed out on because I didn't know they were even happening. As players just don't talk about them anymore. Viewership is hurting because of that. Maybe losing support in MK11 hurt us, not getting more online features compared to SF6 and Tekken, etc. Let's talk about things that hurt us, essentially. I've just been a bit sad about it all recently and not sure what to do to grow instead of the gradual decline I think we're in. I know MK comp will never be as big as Street Fighter 6 or Tekken since our player base is extremely casual, but I'd like for us to flourish as much as we can. And I think kind of the big overarching moral of the story there is that we need more growth within the community, or more people attempting to do stuff. And we have a lot of people. We have a lot of grassroots events, and I think I will kind of touch on that more as I read a couple more of these posts and kind of go over reading these things. But I think that's kind of the overarching theme, is that we have a lot within the community, and if we try to take a more let's grow the community approach instead of, hey, let me try to grow myself as a brand approach, we can see a lot happen within the community. Sorry, I'm like a little sick right now, so bear with me. Thought on the current competitive scene. This is from Mr. Aquaman. I think this is just kind of going off of what Dragon said, kind of putting his own takes. COVID killed a lot. WB higher-ups currently killing a lot, and every day I see the community killing itself with bitching and lack of actual focus on purpose. I can see in most people's gameplay and content that most of you don't even enjoy playing. There's a lack of expression and fun. There's such a staleness to everyone's copy-paste play from what they see the other same few folks doing. Top players can definitely do more, but I don't know how we can achieve that money. Way talks to them, and that's about it these days. We need their full support in a whole ass community years ago. I'm probably going to take them going to broke to realize it, but content creation will keep them solo focused and fed. That's part of it too. I'm guilty of it, but try my best. Another part of that is our community has almost as many events as active community members. There's less of a focus on one or a few places, hence more of a scattered feel. We we'll see. I am hopeful and still grinding to bring folks together, trying to pull an offline off again, but I just turned things around, so we will see. Haha. Offlines are expensive. Try and host one if you don't believe me. I plan on building Coliseum more in 2024, as well with online events that just give us something fun to do between offlines. I know online isn't the move, but the root of our issue are far deeper. We need to learn to have fun again, in my opinion, and start there. P.S. Please say this as a hobby first. Don't bet your life on it. And there is a big thing like that I get from this, and this mainly comes with a PS at the end, is that there's a lot of players, especially big content creators and big competitors, who won't do things like go to certain offlines because there's just no money involved in it, and that is understandable. But the thing is that we basically need to function as a grassroots community. And that being said, is that it's the responsibility of the community to make it happen. And the thing is that these bigger players are on like the highest echelon. So when top players don't want to go to tournaments, it brings everything else down. We don't get as much support from tournament, organizations. They don't want to put out prize pools because players don't want to show up, and it kind of like we're cutting off our arm to spite our hand, essentially. Because we are sorry, I got thrown off there. We are basically have to function as a grassroots community, as my next post that I'll go to will kind of show why that is the case. And I'll just go right into that, and then I'll kind of talk more and go over some of these posts. And this is made from Tekken Master. I think this sparked a lot of stuff yesterday, because he posted yesterday, said SF6 finals versus Mortal Kombat 1 prize pools. We are eating good. ... So essentially, you can see right here, you see the Street Fighter prize pools, and first place gets 1 million, second place 300,000, third place 200,000, fourth place 100,000, etc. If you finish in the top 4, you're making a year's worth of salary plus. But if you look at the Mortal Kombat finals, you see that it's a $100,000 prize pool, and that's the first thing that comes out to me, is that fourth place for the Street Fighter, I'm not even sure what it's called, Capcom Cup, gets as much money as the entire prize pool for Mortal Kombat. And something people have been pointing to that you can point to is if you look at sales, Mortal Kombat has made around $240 million worth of sales. Now that isn't all profit, but the thing is that people are like, well, if you make this much money, you have all these microtransactions that people are upset about, buying $10 skins, buying fatalities. There's all these things and none of it is supporting the competitive scene, and everyone's wondering why. And I think a big thing is that NRS isn't really gaining anything from putting in money to a pro competition, and it showed, because if you look at MKX and Injustice 2, people point to those days and be like, oh, look how great those events were, how many events there were and stuff, is that it kind of showed like, hey, we didn't gain anything from this. The viewership wasn't fantastic. The more sales didn't happen. There wasn't anything measurable to come from supporting the competitive side of the community this much, because you can see, like Dragon even pointed out in his last post, that this community is made up majorly of people who play the game casually. The aesthetics of the game, it's a very beautiful game. The fatalities, the story mode, it all caters towards a more casual community, and that's what generates their sales. So their moneymaker is to support the casuals and make the game more about them. And unfortunately, it does hurt the competitive community, because we're not getting as much support as a game like Street Fighter, where people who play Street Fighter are all predominantly people who are gonna play PvP. They're going to at least grind ranked. Other than, I don't know anyone who plays Street Fighter and doesn't have any intention of playing other people. You know what I mean? There's not I'm not sure, but in Mortal Kombat, there's a ladder system, so you can do ladders and unlock stories for individual characters. And then there's the story mode. Now there's invasions, and there's a decent amount of solo content. and it does cater to a casual audience more than a competitive audience in that sense. But there is competitive aspects to it. Like we do have a pro comp. It's not as big or nearly as big as Street Fighter or other games, and I think that is to be expected. But there is something, and I think, and I think this is something that Aquaman pointed out. I think is that like we have a lot of people. There are so many events. There's events basically every day, and I'm going to make a video about that shortly about where you can compete online in Mortal Kombat. I've been trying to make that over the last couple of weeks. I just haven't got around to it, but I will. There's a lot of events. You can basically play in 2 to 3 events basically daily. I mean, sometimes they come out, they're more like, they come out a couple of days beforehand. The TO announces it. I can, tell you where to look for those. But there isn't really a center focus on, hey, let's grow the community. The center focus seems to be, how do I grow my personal brand as a content creator? How do I run events that suit me? And like, people are about the players. I'm not trying to say that people are selfish, or because people are, I mean, as someone who runs tournaments, I run Shibara Sundays, we are running every single tournament at a net loss. And that's pretty much every TO who runs events. Because online there isn't really a way to generate income like in offline. Offlines are by far more expensive, by far more difficult. So I'm not trying to say that, but at least with offlines, you can charge like a venue fee, and then depending on the venue, sometimes you either pay a flat rate for the venue, or you pay like a 50-50 cut, which like, or something like that, where you don't pay any rate, but they take half the venue fee, or sometimes they take the full venue fee, and you aren't able to profit at all. But there is at least a way to generate income through offline events that you cannot do in online events, and you kind of have to rely on your viewership being good. Ads. You have to rely on people subbing to your Twitch channel, making YouTube content and getting subs and views to do that, and that's a way to essentially monetize your tournaments that you run. But a lot of 9 times out of 10, maybe even 10 times out of 10, you're still running every tournament. Now, loss, because usually you have to put up your own money. For example, Strawberry Sundays, it's not all coming from us, but it's $250 every Sunday. And if you think we're making that back every tournament through YouTube, Twitch subs, ads, you're crazy. I wish that was the case, and it currently isn't. Maybe one day we can get there. And what it basically comes down to is that we need to focus on a community first growth metric if we want better for the community. And we need there's a responsibility of top players to. And I've seen this where top players kind of talk about online events don't matter, or they'll be like, offline events don't matter, or it's like it's not worth going to these offline events, and it's kind of like trickles down, and people start to think like, and the thing is that the people who can make money off these pro comp events, it's like the top like 1% of the competitive scene, or maybe more, maybe top 5% of the competitive scene can even make money, not even like a profit, but just like get in the prize pool. You know what I mean? Like, how difficult it is to even make the pro comp. And that kind of is like a double-edged sword, because like, Billy Bob 48, who, started competing 2 years ago, who's never won an online event and never is even top 8'd, saying like, I'm not going to go to, Combo Breaker because there's not enough money on the line. It doesn't make much sense, because that person's not going to make any money playing the event anyway. And so it's like, if there was $1 million on the line, or there's $10,000 on the line, 9 out of 10 people wouldn't have made it anyway. So going off this preface that like, hey, I wouldn't have made money by going to this tournament, even if I won, but you wouldn't have won. I'm not trying to talk bad about anyone, but like, that's the mentality is that, there's not enough money on the line. And I get it for the top players, but then it kind of like trickles down to players. And then when top players don't show up, the viewership isn't great. So people aren't going to be like, maybe next time we should try to do it bigger and, get more people out. And it kind of like I said, it's cutting off our arm to spite our hand. And I'm not exactly sure, 100% sure what the answer is. I think some things that we can do are, one, try to build a community. through, grassroots events, because we kind of need to function at this point as a grassroots community. I think that's non-negotiable at this point. I think that's all we really can do, because the thing is, in order to be good enough to be playing in the pro comp, you basically need to be playing the game full time. Like, there's no like, oh, I play the game a couple hours a week and like, sometimes people have immense natural talent and they can do something with that, but it's very rare. You normally need to be putting in an absurd amount of time. So it is a bit sad, and I can see it through players who are putting in immense amount of work that they're not being rewarded for that. But the thing is that we need to create an environment, and it does start with them. As someone who has come from the Smash community, everything in the Smash community is grassroots. It's to the point where not only do we get no dev support, but they actively try to hurt the competitive scene. There was 2 grassroots circuits at the end of 2022 that were supposed to happen, but neither happened because Nintendo basically shut them down. Well, Nintendo shut down one. Well, there's a whole story about that. Basically, they shut down one, and then people blamed the other one, and they kind of both fell apart, and we got neither. And they actively have shut down events. And getting a Nintendo sponsorship for your event is basically Nintendo saying, hey, we won't shut down your event. We won't cease and assist your event. And in turn, you advertise Nintendo. And that's about the extent of it. And there's still crazy events. There's almost majors monthly. There's huge tournaments like Genesis in the Big House. And we even have, Combo Breaker and CEO have Super Smash Bros. Melee, the 2001 game there that people are going to travel and fly in for. I might go to both. I don't know. Being Combo Breaker and CEO. But the community is able to thrive in a way based solely off grassroots. And it's because there's great content creators who create, videos and lore videos around the competitive scene. There's people who get together and make a ranking system, something that I'm working on for the Mortal Kombat community, that like people strive to make. People want to make the top 100, and I hope, with MK we can do that same thing, and we get people who want to make the list, who are, gonna travel or are gonna compete a lot to make that list. That would be really cool. I mean, that's the way it is in the Smash community. You see people, have circuits, and people, run events, and there's people do that in the MK community, but I think there's a lot of like point to NRS and be like, when's this going to happen? And the sad truth is that it's not. And I, more than anyone, and that's why I kind of see both, as I, more than anyone, would love it if people could take just strictly competitive gameplay as their their career, or at least their main source of income. It would be awesome. I would like nothing more than that. That's what I'm doing. But like I'm also going out there and trying to make something happen, and there's a lot of people that are. I'm not trying to say that I'm special or just anything that I'm particularly doing. There isn't. But I'm hosting events on Sundays. I have hosted my fair share of offline tournaments. Retro Game Con was up in Syracuse, and I put up $300 towards the prize pool to try to get more people out. And we got like people like Ludi and Sunio to come out to the tournament. So there is things that the community can do, and I think, like I said, like we can collaborate more too. Instead of there being 4 or 5 tournaments a night, we can have people work together, combine forces, combine funding, combine commentary and resources. I probably said that already, but to make that happen and make big events happen, and make an online circuit or an offline circuit which is which is funded by the community, and we host a crowdfunding, maybe like a Matrimino or something, and people donate towards it, and we get sponsors and stuff like that. We can, as a community, create something amazing. But it's going to take collaboration. It's going to take people calming their egos down a little bit, trying not to be the person, not to be like, I am, going to do this for my personal growth. And it's hard to not do that, because it's like you're essentially investing in something where you're not going to see much return, at least right away. And that's the thing, is that like we're looking for a right away return, and we're not going to get it. This is not going to happen. It's kind of like creating, content. Like, you're not going to see a return until you put out months worth of high quality content. You're not going to see money. You're not going to, and it's just what's going to have to happen within the community. And I hope that makes sense, and I hope that is something we can do. NRS, I hope they fix the desync issues. I'm not sure if I touched on that, but if you don't know, in Combat League, if you play, you're bound to run into a desync, whether at the beginning of the match, halfway through a match. It happens really consistently, and there's basically no urgency from NRS at all to fix it. They tried to put out this thing saying just don't skip the intros and that'll help, but it hasn't really. Most of my desyncs don't happen because of skip intros. At least that's not how it seems. So I'm not sure. I try not to skip the intros, but I understand both sides. I would love if the community can thrive, but definitely don't bet your life on it. Definitely do what you can for the community. Let's try to build it up as best we can. But I think that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure to sub to the channel. As I'm doing not only a lot for myself, but I'm going to be trying to do a lot for the community, such as the top 100 ranking that's going to be coming out in the next week or so. At least it's going to be done, and then I'm going to make a video on it. So maybe a little bit longer than that, but it is going to happen. And I greatly appreciate everyone for watching. Like I said, sub to this channel if you have not, as I upload very consistently. Thank you so much, and have a nice rest of your day.